racist and misogynist is not the easy answer, and in fact is the elephant in the room you need to talk about.
It leaves us with a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and a lot of questions, right?
So many incumbent Republicans were weak. So to me, it felt like a little bit of hypocrisy in that we wanted to bring in an outsider.
Trump denied, but that we're pretty overwhelming. Are we willing to accept that in a president? And enough voters said yes. That's something I'll talk to our guests coming up about. Thanks so much for the call.
So I don't know that there's going to be a way to bridge that, because if you think about the issues that rural voters versus urban voters are voting on, largely they don't see eye to eye. This is what your great question about, what does America mean today signify. I think there's a
Hello, my friends. There's a few things that I would like you to remember now that this election is done. Point number one, we had a record turnout for voters. That's a pretty big deal. It was nearly 120 million people. And I just highlighted that earlier in the video. That's pretty amazing, and that should be celebrated. Number two, North Dakota took some pretty big steps towards the 21st century. Legalizing marijuana for a few specific diseases is a step in the right direction. But that's a big deal because a lot of the country hasn't legalized it for even medical use as of yet. A few more states just this election did it for recreational use, which I'm in support of. Legalizing marijuana recreationally, taxing it the way you tax cigarettes and alcohol. I think that's totally fine. It's not a vice that I'm really interested in, but I think it's a vice for some people that is just a way to let loose, and it's not as big of a deal as a lot of uneducated people think. Uneducated on marijuana. Some people are very upset about the outcome of the presidential side of the election. I am let down because the person I voted for didn't win the election. However, the process worked. Okay? 59 million people voted for Donald Trump. That's a huge part of the country. Facebook has been blowing up with a lot of negativity. There's been protests in major cities, people taking it to the streets. I respect that. Freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, that's fine. Please, people, remember to keep it civil. Peaceful action is the only action that gets anything done when you're a civilian. Government has all the rights on military actions, getting anything done. I don't know. I don't want to. That's getting really overly political. I feel like I'm doing a lot of backhanded comments, and I don't mean to be sassy. I'm fine. I'm fine. Publicly, I had stated my allegiance with Hillary, and I waited a little bit before I said anything about the election for myself to cool down. I didn't want to just rapid fire something off and regret saying something stupid. And I feel like now we're 2 days removed, I'm comfortable enough to say that it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. Trump will be president for at least 4 years, barring any unforeseen things happening. And I think that that's fine. To some people, that is unacceptable. And I get that because I disagree with a lot of the things he's done as a person. I don't have anything to point to as a politician because he doesn't have a record. But as a person, there's things that disgust me. But think back to the last 8 years, almost a full decade. There was a large portion of this country that couldn't stand Barack Obama as their president. So in a sense, or in a way, it's kind of our turn to be upset. We had 8 years of Bush to be grumpy about. They had 8 years of Obama to be grumpy about. We have at least 4 of Trump to be grumpy about. That's fair. If you want to be upset, I think it's okay to be upset. I'm still pretty upset, but I'm dealing, I think I'm past the denial stage. I think we should be upset at two things I highlighted before the election: the two-party system and the Electoral College. Two-party system sets up, like I described earlier, 2 opposing forces that just battle at each other, and it's a coin flip for which side you're on. We just saw that in this election. 59 million voted one way, 59 million voted another way. 59,200,000 for Trump, 59,600,000 for Hillary. Do a recount, those numbers will change. It's essentially a 50-50 coin toss on where people are aligned in this country. 50% of the country isn't enough to be in support of a party. That's you're alienating half of the country. 50% of the country was upset with Barack Obama for 8 years. And now we look forward to 50% of the country being upset with Trump for 4 years, possibly 8. There should be way more parties. It's 2016. There should be way more parties than just 2 parties. It's broken. We need to fix that. Green Party has tried. Independent Party has tried. The Tea Party tried. Somehow we have to all, together decide that this is what we want. We want multiple parties. We want multiple options. In an ideal world, the ticket would have said Trump for Tea Party, Kasich for the Republican Party, Hillary for the Democratic Party, and then Bernie for whatever party. Socialist Party. We'll just go with that. There's a Socialist Party. Then you have a 4-way ticket, and then people can actually vote for, let's say 30% of the people voted for Trump, and then 40% voted for Kasich, and then 20% voted for Bernie, and 10% voted for Hillary. Let's say that was the breakdown. I think that's 100%. You can check my math if you want. That means 70% of the people would be pretty happy with the outcome, because in that math, Kasich wins the election. But the 30% that voted for Trump, they're still like, oh, well, at least it was a conservative type that got into office. So 70% is happy. And then it was the 30% on the liberal side that would be unhappy. Or flip it around, 40% for Bernie and 20% for Hillary, fill out the rest for the other ones, and then you have 60% that's at least generally happy with the outcome if Bernie had it. The way it's set up right now, I fear, especially with your only news coming from either Fox News or CNN and MSNBC, you're just going to continue to have that 50% here, 50% here. And they're just going to, which side of the coin is it going to land on every election? And you just have perpetual 50% of the nation unhappy. That seems really silly to me. So let's fix that. Electoral College. Now, the Electoral College made sense probably back in the day, or to give a bigger voice to the people in the center states, because there's less population. It's these states where their issues are very specific to them and they don't really line up with the coastal issues. So give their vote a little more because there's less of them, and then they have equal footing with the big city urban people on the coasts. But now that you have way less people farming, all of the rural communities, even in the Midwest, are moving into cities and becoming urban people within the Midwest. Like, you look at North Dakota, for instance. There's a total population of, I think it's like 700,000, something like that. Well, like 250 of that is condensed right here in Fargo, which is an urban city. But all those urban people are coming, or all those rural people are moving into the urban. Popular vote is the way it should be. It should just be my vote is the same, has the same value as Hillary Clinton's vote. Let me just preface this by saying I'm not saying that, you know, based on the numbers Hillary should have won or whatever. Like, we all acknowledge that the Electoral College was in play for this election. She got 0.2% more votes, and he got 27% more Electoral College votes. The point is, I totally accept the results. I accept the results. I am not protesting anything. This happened. Democracy worked. And that's beautiful. It bothers me when I read things on Facebook talking about how stupid could half the country be. That's rude. And that is not what we do as liberals. That's not how we talk. All right? We don't shun people for believing something different. That's not us. Remember what Hillary said. Love trumps hate. Love trumps hate. They go low, we go high. Don't forget that. So when you hit Facebook and you say, how could you be so stupid to elect someone like Donald Trump? Feel those feelings in your heart. That's fine. Everyone has those moments. I don't want to see this divide between us grow further and further every time there's an election. Unity is what's best. Disagree on certain points is fine, but unify the country. That's what's most important. Remember, stay positive. Yeah. I think that's all I got for today. As previously discussed, the daily vlogs are now mine. So Jordan's going to do some occasionally, but the regular ones are mine. I'm still doing every other day, but come back and enjoy all of the wonderful things that I have to offer. I think they're wonderful. Hopefully you will too. Remember always to subscribe. I think you can subscribe right here. Eep. It's Jordan in my face. Subscribe there. Comment below. There's more videos over here, or maybe down here, or if you're on the mobile, the videos will be down here and you can watch more videos. Before I go, I have a new setup, so I have a second monitor for editing, which is really nice, and also I can put up graphics like I did today when I do some talking. I brought the light in right there. There's our fancy light. I linked my GoPro to my phone, and I have my phone on the tripod as like my monitor, which is pretty cool. We're getting pretty high tech up in here. Okay, goodbye.